him whether he can give with certainty that from what he saw out of his audit, that indeed these messages emanated from the registered phones of these members. If that is ascertained, Mr. Speaker, I know how to do the rest of my work.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. I wanted to take you back to the question that Wambua had asked. And we go back to page 5, and that is question number 3. You say, the question you were asked, was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or any other MCA? Then you say no, and then you qualify it by saying you need to have both the username, that is the IPPD, and the password ID number. What you may not know is that when presentations were being done yesterday, we were informed that these names and numbers were freely given to everybody in the assembly. In other words, the private ID numbers and whatever that was being provided for.
Senator Wakoli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My questions are as follows.
Only one question, Honorable Senator.
Did you ascertain that the link that the MCS received on their phones were the same phones that were used to vote, and you can justify the process? Thank you.
Senator Kavindu.
Chair, Speaker, thank you. My question is, if there was clarity about the MCRs who are claiming that their identity was used for voting and they did not vote. And yesterday I also asked a question. There was a Peter who tried to log several times and it failed. And I asked whether he managed to vote at long last. And this question was not answered. So you, as a specialist of IT, did you manage to trace that Peter if he ever voted? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Thangwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is very simple. We were told yesterday, and I tried to ask the same question, that 9 members voted from the same computer. Can you, Mr. Speaker, request that we have the 9 members try to vote as we see? Then we see how long it's going to take. From there, Mr. Speaker, we'll be able to know how much time that 9 members can use one computer with different IDs, different IPPDs, and they are going to vote, Mr. Speaker. So if you can direct that it's being, it can be demonstrated to us how 9 members can vote from one computer, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mogeni.
Yes, when a witness, there is a question that is troubling us, and we want to be sure from your evidence this evening, if somebody has a link and he has a username and a password, can that person vote for another person? You got me? You have got the link, you have the username, and you have the password. Can you vote for another person using any gadget?
Okay, proceed to respond to those, and then I'll have another set for you. Proceed.
Yeah, so the first question was asking whether, as admin, you could vote for an MCA. The answer to that is no. If you have logged in as admin, you need to log into the system as a registered user who needs to cast their vote, because from the logs, each of the MCAs who voted had a unique number that enabled them to cast a vote. The second question is if any other person can vote for the MCA with the username and password. As I have clearly indicated, that is possible only if you have the MCA's IPPD and the password, which is the ID number. And the same answers the last question that has been cast by the senator who just took his seat. There was the issue of certainty based on page 17. And ideally, what we were trying to do here is to provide a correlation. The system has two modules. There is the system events module, the system security events module, and there is the vote activity, the voters module. So to address issues of source IP, as had been earlier questioned by the other council, we managed to actually map each of the vote cast with the IP, because this was an aspect of contestation that the logs that we have do not have IP addresses. But from the annex that we have provided here, from the voting module and the system events, you can be able to correlate this based on the unique user ID and the timestamp under which that particular activity did happen. And this is basically to ascertain that MCA so-and-so cast his vote at this particular IP address and this particular timestamp. The other question was, if I have an ID, and it was actually an issue of clarity where I was being told that it is common knowledge that within the county, ID and passwords are already circulated. My response to that is not within my knowledge, because it's unique to the county, and I wouldn't have really known, because it is a culture issue within the county if that is their practice. I was also asked to ascertain the link and the voting process. As a practitioner within this field, we are guided by principles. And just to make sure that we were doing a good job to this assembly, we made sure that there is a checklist that assists the county to conform to standard global practices and standards, as I had indicated within my opening remarks, which is the Information Security Standard, as well as the ISO standards, and any other data protection, as well as Computer Misuse and Protection Act. So we are guided, and we provided that checklist to the head of ICT for the county, who responded in affirmative, and we have been able to receive some of those documentations to validate our report. So the process of whether to ascertain that the URL that was provided and the voting process, that is a documentation issue which we have been able to be guided by the documentation that was provided. The other question was, we identify the number of users, the identity of users who are able to vote for each other. As I have said, you can only vote for each other if you have that particular MCA's IPPD number and the password. But with the link alone, you cannot be able to do that. The issue of 9 people voting, I think the senator was asking whether that can be a proof of concept within the House. It is upon the speaker to decide. Then the last question was, with the link and password and username, can you vote? Yes, that is the answer. You can vote if you have both 3 parameters together. Thank you.
The question by Senator Richard Onyonka.
I responded, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I think you understood where I was. You were not aware that we had been informed in the evening, in the morning yesterday, that all the MCAs and the other members were actually given the numbers of their colleagues in terms of their IDs and their IP numbers. So if that is the case, is it true, or do you then think it is possible that somebody could have voted for somebody else?
Mr. Speaker, I think with that information where you have user's ID and user's password, it is possible for you to vote on behalf of another person.
Senator Chiranke.
Mr. Witness, I've looked at Annex number 3, page 17, and of course your response. So in this, you can confirm that the 33 MCAs voted in the affirmative of the motion. Is it true? And was the system compromised as per your understanding in your expertise? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boy. Senator Isa. Yeah, then log out, Honorable Senator, please. Yes, Senator Fak, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. You said that given the fact that the login credentials were shared amongst all the members of the Assembly, and that somebody could have voted, for instance, I could have voted for Mr. Senator Issa Boy, and then was it possible for me to vote for Senator Boy, for instance, and also vote for myself, given that I have the credentials of both senators? Thank you.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer the expert to page 5, Roman 5. There's a statement there where he says, towards the end of Roman 5, that there is no evidence of multiple voting, neither is there evidence of other compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system and process. That statement, in view of even the questions you've had now, that and then the information we now got that there was static IP address inside the chamber, there was evidence of somebody saying that he was going to vote for somebody else. Don't you think this statement was a bit too much? Was it a bit too wide? That it was, because this statement is saying this system is totally fine.
Senator Professor Tomojenda.
Mr. Witness, to the point, at page 14 of that 22, you confirmed that there were no abstentions, 33 votes to the affirmative. Yet, if you look at the logins running from page 17 to the end, there are many failed logins. Would you verify whether the logins were by the MCAs who were voting? Number two, was it a concern to you that all the votes were yes and there was no person voting in the negative? But lastly, is this an agreed report? Because I can see the governor's team did not sign, only the assembly team signed. All the others who signed are from Senate. Is this a report? And lastly, do you have superior qualifications to these other people?
Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Witness, is it your evidence that indeed, and I want to refer you to page 16 of your document, and specifically bullet 3, voting process integrity. Is it your evidence that despite the fact that we've been informed that credentials of logging in were shared, that then the integrity and privacy of the voting was guaranteed. Then, in bullet number 5 or 6, you said user training and awareness. Evidence provided in this, testimony provided in this house states that there was no training. Is it then your testimony that that training was done? Then the last question was, did you get to see the source code and see whether there was a limitation of the number of people who could vote in a certain string? Was the system in the source code, if you inspected it, geo-fenced, or was it accessible from any part globally? Then,
Senator Crystal Asige.
Thank you very much, Speaker. To the witness, you have clarified that there were about 9 IP addresses that were identical. Can you also verify if there were any others that were identical of the 33 votes casted? And can you verify from that list of 33 votes where each IP address is attached in terms of location?
Senator Kinyua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Philip, because we are here in the morning and we have heard that there were challenges with this system, with the MCAs, and I want to quote Honorable Trump, who was here in the morning. And he did mention that they were being assisted, some of them were being assisted. In the course of assisting, was it possible that this person who was assisting would have voted for this member without his knowledge, that now that this person does not know this system? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator A.D. Okech. Then log out, Honorable Senator. Okay. Senator Mofire.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question is to the experts, and I want to know, as an IT expert, based on your audit, do you have confidence in the credibility and the accuracy of the results generated by the voting system? So at the same time, what could be the reason why we have 9 similar IP addresses and the others are different, assuming that they were all using one gateway, one Wi-Fi? Thank you.
Senator Alan Chesang. Senator... proceed, Honorable Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the IT expert. Now that on page 5 of your report, you had mentioned that it is not possible, Roman 3, that is a question of Roman 3, you had mentioned that it was not possible for any member of the county assembly to vote for another member. But again, now you've said that it is possible if they have their IPPD address and their ID number. So does that mean that your report, you're not sure of the report that you made? That is number one. And also, does that mean that you can also not assure us that this system is secure? That is number one. And also, maybe you cannot also confirm that you cannot detect.
Senator Paris Tobiko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Witness, being the expert that you are, if you are the one putting up this system, setting up the system, are there other safeguards you would have put in place to secure the system and make it foolproof? If you have other suggestions, if you would have done it differently. Thank you.
Senator Shakil Abdallah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is, since it has been established that it's possible for others to vote for others, is it possible to establish the gadgets which were used? Because all the phones are registered under certain names. If I use my phone to vote for Fatma, it will show it is my phone which was used. Is there a way to know that it was my phone used to vote for somebody else? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also wish to know on how long the system was open to allow members to vote. And finally, how do we know if the 9 people who are voting was one person who was voting 9 times? Thank you.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to refer back the witness to the report. And I note that specifically on number 9, that the following persons were in attendance: Mr. Philip Irode, Mr. Joan Mukeire, the Office of the Governor, there was a council, and then there was an ICT advisor from the Mr. Weldon Langat, including the County Assembly, Alfred Korir Kimutai, Mr. Hilary Kiplangat, and then you had the Senate Secretariat, Mr. Zakayo Mogere, Innocent Baya, and Miss Marianne Karanja. The question that I want to ask you is very simple. This report, although you are the witness standing there to be able to submit and to present the report, were you the only person who came up with this report, or this report was a joint exercise by all those people who, by the resolution of this House, ended up carrying out this exercise? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama, just look at the report. The owners of the report are 2, and they signed it in the presence of others. If you look at page 5 of 2022. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Nevertheless, the witness will respond to your question. Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to inquire from the witness on why there is an IP address appearing to have voted thrice, contrary to the IP address that they had indicated was supposed to be the one to vote. And I take note of that because it has voted yes thrice. Thank you. And I'm talking about the IP address 154.159.237.85. Thank you.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is on the last terms of reference for Philip. You were told, is there any evidence of multiple voting or compromise? I don't know, did you make use of these particular terms of reference to check if the system can be penetrated by hackers from outside? I don't know if you did, you attempted to penetrate the system so that for our comfort, we know the system is secure.
Senator Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Witness, as an IT expert, whichever way this matter goes, would you recommend the Kericho County Assembly to continue using this system or any other assembly for that matter? Thank you.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, you said that you received a letter from Senate in order for your authority to be able to undertake this process. This letter was addressed to who specifically? Because just need to understand the 2 hours that the council talked about, then who was really addressed, the letter was addressed to who. Then secondly, this report that you've tabled, did it need any consensus for it to be valid? Number 3, do you think that this system for Kericho County is a valid system that can continue to be used. It's a system from your own expertise that you would recommend that they continue using. Lastly, is that the MCAs that was...
Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika. Ningetaka mkurugenzi atuelezee kulingana na MCA, kuna pahali wanasema walitumia dakika 5 wakaongezea dakika 2 ikakuja na singine ikakuja dakika 11. Sisi hapa Senate wakati speaker anataka tofauti anatuambia toa kandi na uingishe na uweke namba uweze kufuti, na kama imemaliza dakika kidogo kama haujaweza kuweka la ama ndio unakuta inaenda inapotea. Hii gadget ya Kericho kwani iko namna gani? Kwani iko tofauti na gadget zile zingine kama haijakuwa tembandi nayo?
Senator Kibwana Hamida.
I don't have glasses. I can't see. Let me wear my glasses. Let me get my glasses.
Are you reading somewhere?
No, I wanted to.
Then speak. We need your mouth, not your eyes.
I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at the numbers in the report. Let me wear my glasses. Glasses zangu zimeenda.
Okay, I'm told everyone on my dashboard has already got an opportunity to speak. So we will allow the witness to respond. Witness, I've given you the go-ahead to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try and answer them in the order that they came through. I have quite a number of them. The first one was clarification if at all 33 MCAs did vote. And our response to that question, Your Honor, is yes, it's an affirmative.
Power his microphone and put it closer to his mouth, please.
The first question was if at all we can be able to clarify that at all the 33 MCAs were able to vote within the system. And of course, our response to that based on the finding is yes, 33 MCAs did vote. We've provided evidence for that as per the logs provided within the system. The other question was, and this question has been repeated severally, whether if you have the link and you have the password and you have the username, you can be able to vote. And we have confirmed, yes, you can be able to vote for one another. However, the link was being sent to an individual user MCA. Therefore, once you receive your link, you are able to vote if you only have your username and your password. The other question was, if the system is okay based on the question 5. If we go to question 5, we were asked the question as was directed to us as ICT authority to respond was, is there any evidence of multiple or compromise of the voting system and or any impropriety in the voting system or process? And I will want us to underline the word evidence. Our field is based on evidence. I have to be able to provide evidence. And the evidence that I collected is based on the logs that the system has no evidence of multiple voting. It has no evidence of compromise or any other impropriety of the voting system. And that's what we responded to, based on evidence. The other question was, from the failed logins, I think there was a senator who asked about failed logins. From the logins, you can actually tell that the system is secure because if you do not have your username and password, it does not let you get through. You need to have your appropriate username and password for you to be able to log in. And from the extracted logs that we have, we had actually even been able to see a number of attempted multiple logins yesterday, which never went through. The other question was, it was on shared credentials. And as I've said, from a practitioner's perspective, we are all taught that your username and password is a personal information that you should not be able to, share. And as senators, we are aware of the Data Protection Act, which specifically guides that username and password, or perhaps an ID, is personal identifiable information, and therefore data that is personal. And therefore, if at all it was a practice within the county to share username and passwords, I think that is a wrong practice. However, from the evidence, and I'll still insist from the evidence that we collected, we were not able to ascertain that level of practice. There is a question on training, source code, and I'll respond to this by saying that within the time limit provided, we were here at 2, we were meant to provide a report at 6, and I have said we zeroed our response towards answering the 5 questions that were posed to the ICT Authority CEO, which meant that we look into the system, the exposed interface of the system, the voters module, the hosting architecture of the system, to be able to gather enough evidence to respond to those questions. The issue of geofencing, that is an architectural issue that perhaps require additional time for you to be able to ascertain whether the code has included aspects of geofencing. There's also a repeated issue about the 9 IP addresses, and as I have earlier responded to, is that these IP addresses are ideally a gateway for the county assemblies local LAN, that is local area network, or Wi-Fi, if that is what the MCAs use as an internet gateway. There was an issue about Mr. Trump, the challenges associated with voting. As a good practice, ideally, as I had said, from a practical ITGC, which is Information Technology General Controls, users are meant to be trained, and we received an affirmative Excel sheet that indicated that this had been done at the county. The other question was, we report about the system IP address. I think we have clarified that in our report, that the system is hosted on off-premise. That means not within the premise of the county. The system is hosted out of country. That is a host pinnacle. We have provided the published URL in our report that is on page 4. We were also asked to confirm whether the system is secure. I would want to confirm that we did an internal scan within the system, basically, which is some sort of vulnerability pen test within the system. And I can confirm within this sitting that the system as it is secure, and that was actually demonstrated by the logs that we printed, which indicated quite considerable number of failed attempt logins. The other question was, if you were to be the one setting up the system, what would you do? As a practitioner, there are guidelines and frameworks that we define that guide us on how best to set up the system. And we are guided by, of course, governance practices, the system value, the proposition, the return to the users, as well as good practice around security, resilience, and of course, data privacy. So I will make sure that all that aspects are inbuilt within the system, which is ideally what we were looking into when we reviewed the system. The other question was in regards to the MCA's phone devices, IP addresses. As I had said earlier, if the MCAs were using the system with their devices and using the local gateway, which is the Wi-Fi, they will all resolve to one IP, which is the outward-facing IP, which is ideally what some of the senates have addressed. And when we looked at these IPs, they are actually local ISP service providers, including our Safaricom, Airtel, and the likes. There's the question that was asked around system, if you are able to allow members to vote. I think I have indicated that you can only vote if you have the URL, and the URL, once you vote, it deactivates. So you cannot cast your vote twice. There was the question on whether this exercise was a joint exercise. I think I would want to answer that this is our report. Myself and my colleague, my senior information security analyst, Joanne, we sat here yesterday from around 4 to late in the night preparing this report. And I think it is our responsibility to sign the report. Any other person had no obligation to sign it. They can sign it if they so wish. Otherwise, it was our report which we were presenting to the clerk's office. There is a question that has been asked whether IP 154.159.237.217 appears thrice. It is the same scenario. You can have, the architecture of mobile devices is when you are moving within the base stations, each base station has an IP address. So whether you are within the premises of a base station, you'll definitely have one IP address if you are on a different ISP, if you are on the same ISP provider. The other question was on ideally whether we can ascertain that the system has been secured. As I have said, yes, we've done a scan using our in-house tools provided by the ICT Authority, and we can verify that the system is secure, as it has been demonstrated by the logs that are part of our annexes to this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I've... No,
Thank you.
There are some questions.
Now you've... yes, Senator Christo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, listen, I only have just one question, which had not been answered. To the witness, I asked you just one question. I said, let me restate it. I asked, you have 33 people who have voted, according to the report. And you say that each of the votes cast are attached to a particular IP address. Some are in clusters, meaning they're identical to others. But can you tell us with certainty the geographical location of each of those IP addresses? If 33 people voted, where exactly did they vote from geographically according to the IP address attached to their vote, Speaker?
I will also allow Senator Omtata, who has difficulty with his card. You may now proceed.
Yes,
Senator Azena, you had an opportunity. Senator Omtata, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We are having the expert, the authority, the expert of experts before us. The IC Authority of the Republic should be the expert of experts. And listening to him, it's like he's walking away from this report.
if we did not have adequate resources, like I'm looking at answer number 4, you answer using, you put the word no in capitals, yet you have qualified it that you did not have enough staff to give us a credible answer. Because as you know, if you looked at what the County Assembly presented, those logs, there was no audit trail in those logs. And I appreciate that you had a very short time. You have presented your issues here. So I'm trying to struggle with the evidentiary value of this report.
Give the senator half a minute.
So, of what value is this report? And number 2, for lawfulness, we are told about .go.ke and .co.ke as the regulator of the system. Can a county government be allowed to run a system on an open server or a private host, or must this be on a government host? It came up during submissions.
Thank you, Senator Hazana. You're saying your question has not been addressed. Can you repeat it?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. The question has not been answered because I asked how come there were 3 MCAs who voted using the same IP address, and he has said that it was if one person is using their phone and moving around the vicinity into different locations, that it will use the same IP address. But this is 3 different MCAs from the code of the MCA. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, 5 minutes, conclude witness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll continue responding to the questions because I hadn't addressed all of them. There was a question that asked to whom the letter was addressed to. The response to that is the letter was addressed to our PS, who's the PS State Department for ICT and Digital Economy, requesting the ICT Authority CEO to nominate officers. Then there was a follow-up question regarding whether the report required consensus. Our response is no, because it is based on evidence that we have collected within the environment that we were working on. There was a follow-up question whether the system is valid. Yeah, I think if the system is valid and up to date, and the answer is yes. The system based on the scope and our surroundings that we were working on, yes, the evidentiary collected within the system are valid. There's a question that has been posed by Senator Omtata asking about the response to question, I think you mentioned 3. Was it possible for any MCA or any other person who had a link to vote on the motion on behalf of an MCA or another MCA? I have indicated here that the answer is no. You cannot vote for any other person, and I have qualified it. You can only vote if you have all the 3 parameters, which is the link, which was provided for by the County Assembly, and then your unique username, which is the IPPD, and of course a password, which is obviously meant to be private and privileged information. To respond to the other question that has lastly been asked, it is what value is the report? I think based on the matters at hand, your Honorable Speaker, this report is meant to guide us. We are responding to the questions that were posed to the ICT Authority in responding to the allegations of whether the system is a secure voting platform or not. And based on the evidence that we have provided before this House, in my field, we base our conclusion on evidence. And that is what we have provided based on the logs, based in the presence of both parties, and we have provided this to this House. We have clarified issues to do with IP addresses. IP is a unique...
Witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just be very specific. Respond to the question by Crystal Asigi so that we end it there.
Yeah, so the question asked by Honorable Senator is, are we able to ascertain with certainty MAC addresses? I'll still echo my earlier sentiments that MAC addresses are unique to devices, and MAC addresses are mapped to IP addresses. You need to have an IP addresses for you to access an external facing application. And based on the configuration of the system, within the logs configuration, the logs have provided an IP address which corresponds to a unique MAC address. However, within the logs within that voting system, MAC addresses are not configured as audit details to be collected.
So you are not able to geographically place them?
You can, using your IP, and ideally this is where the confusion between an IP and a MAC address comes in. A MAC address does not give you an IP a location, but an IP address gives you an IP location. And that is why we have used the IP addresses to confirm that these IP addresses were within the geographical location of the county assembly, because these are base station IPs.
Order. Let the witness respond, Senator Hezena and Senator Crystal Asigi. Just conclude, witness.
Your Honor, as I was saying, IP addresses gives you geolocation. However, MAC addresses don't give you geolocation. And based on the architecture of some of the systems we have, we only collect the outward facing IP address. This basically means that that system is exposed to users outside. So you don't expose your internal IPs, but you expose your outside IPs. And the IPs that we have identified here are ISPs that belong to local ISP providers, as we have indicated, Safaricom, Airtel, and any other ISP within that geolocation, Your Honor.
Okay. So assuming the senators vote the way Kericho did, and they're all seated inside the chamber here, so they will still have different IP addresses. If they're all seated here, voting the Kericho way, will they still have, they will have different IP addresses?
So depending on if your system that you are using is a web-based system that has to be accessed online, and the way the network has been, there is a principle called network address translation. You assign a system an internal IP. Then you assign your gateway. The gateway, for example, is this door. You configure the system such that you say any requests that are coming outside have to pass through this door and go to port so and so. So that basically means when you are coming in, you will have this door as the log. It indicates that you've actually accessed this system. Then you'll go and sit at a certain place. So that is basically assigning an IP and a service to a system. So we will all have the same IP if it is an external facing application that has to resolve using an external facing IP address, Your Honor.
Have a seat, Mr. Witness.
Oh.
Now, honorable senators, having heard the expert, we will now proceed to the closing statements. We will start with the county assembly. You have 60 minutes to do so. You may utilize all of it, or you may utilize part of it, but the maximum is 60 minutes. Likewise, the Council for Governor, you have 60 minutes to also make your closing statement. You may proceed. Your time starts running from now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. For record purposes, my name is Kipkorir Elvis. I will make the closing submissions on behalf of the County Assembly, and I will take the first 25 minutes, after which Learned Counsel Mr. Ongoya will take the remainder of the time. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, exactly 15 years ago, Kenya embarked on a transformative journey in its adoption of a devolved system of governance. This was an answer to an enduring desire by many a Kenyan who earnestly yearned for public services closer to them. Indeed, honorable senators, devolution has been mooted as the genius of the 2010 Constitution, as it marked a complete departure from the previous system that had been characterized by marginalization, mismanagement of resources, runaway corruption, amongst other challenges. The term of the present governor, the governor that is on trial today, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, has marked a silent retreat to that dark past. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, county governments hold the key to effective service delivery. The expectation of the people is that county governance would enhance efficiency to their benefit and not for the self-aggrandizement of the governor. As the County Assembly has demonstrated, the governor's debut in office was marked by the invasion of a private citizen's property, the tearing down of a fence, and its designation as a dump site illegally, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. You will recall that when video number KCAV11 was played, the video was taken barely 2 days after the governor was sworn into office, and that is the first thing that he did in announcing that there was a new sheriff in town. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the facts of the matter before you and the evidence that the County Assembly has led disclose a sorry tale of maladministration and a failure of moral courage. To paraphrase William Shakespeare, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, something is wrong in Kericho. It is our submission that the County Assembly of Kericho has made an overwhelming case of bad behavior on the part of the governor. A classic betrayal of the trust bestowed on the governor by the residents of Kericho County. And Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the question we pose is whether bad behavior should attract any consequences. And the answer to that is in the affirmative. Those who are sent to public office, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, and elect to betray the trust that the people have placed in them, like the governor on trial today, ought to be impeached. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, impeachment is a constitutional instrument rooted in the Constitution of Kenya, Article 181, and is designed to protect the sanctity of public office and the interest of the people. The process before you today is therefore an affirmation of the supremacy of the rule of law and accountability of elected leaders. Briefly, Article 181(4) sets out the grounds upon which a county governor may be impeached or removed from office. The first one is gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. Secondly, there being serious reasons to believe that the governor has committed a crime under national or international law, abuse of office, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office. These requirements are mirrored under Section 33 of the County Governments Act, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. And there is jurisprudence that confirms that the impeachments must be based on evidence presented and not on minor procedural errors or political differences in the county governments. This is a sui juris process, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, and it is not about the criminality or culpability, but the accountability, political governance, as well as political responsibility of the county governor. The standard of proof in our humble submission is that it is neither beyond reasonable doubt nor on a balance of probability. It is slightly above a balance of probability, but below that of reasonable doubt. At the core of the charges the governor on trial is facing is the theft of public funds. Resources entrusted to the governor for the benefit and development of Kericho County. And the evidence presented before this House, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, paints a damning picture of misappropriation of public funds which have been placed in the hands of the governor to manage and oversee on behalf of the residents of Kericho County. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, you will recall that on 30th June 2023, a grisly road accident occurred at Londiani Junction involving a truck that lost control and rammed into small-scale traders and other road users, claiming the lives of at least 52 citizens. You may also recall that in response, the national government and the other emergency response teams mobilized resources to help the families of people who had lost their lives and those who had been injured. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly of Kericho has led evidence of how the funds meant for the victims of the grisly road accident were misappropriated with the blessings of the governor who is on trial today. The County Assembly's witness, Mr. Kiprotich Rogony, and the mover of the motion at the County Assembly confirmed this on the witness stand and also by the affidavit evidence that is contained in the County Assembly's bundle of documents. The evidence, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, demonstrates that on the 15th of August 2023, the governor of Kericho compensated the victims of the Londiani accident from the county emergency fund to cover up for the funds raised by the public and which had been misappropriated by a committee he had formed to steer the funds drive, and without a cogent explanation of how the funds publicly raised for the victims had been expended. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the evidence led by the County Assembly is that on the various dates between the 4th of July 2023 and 9th of July 2023, the governor engaged in acts which grossly violated the provisions of Articles 10, 73, and 75 of the Constitution, and Sections 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act by overseeing the misappropriation of funds raised for the victims of the accident at Londiani, in which over 9 million shillings of publicly raised funds were lost. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, I invite all of us present in this chamber this evening to pause in harsh memory of those who lost their lives in Londiani, but whose dignity endures beyond their graves. For what injustice, for what deeper wound would be inflicted on the families of the victims, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, than to rob them of the meager allocations from the funds that were raised by members of the public, including some of us present here today, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators. The dead do not protest, but how insensitive, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, would one have to be to trespass where sorrow has already claimed its toll? Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor has reneged on his undertaking to implement the report of the County Assembly ad hoc committee on the Londiani accident and the misappropriation of funds that followed the accident. There is evidence that the governor expressly supported a petition by those implicated in the County Assembly's ad hoc committee, and the cases that the County Assembly cited were Kericho ELRC petition number E006 of 2023 Dr. Wesley Bor, and 5 others versus the governor, Kericho County Government, and 5 others, and Kericho ELRC E014 of 2023, Victor Tum and others versus the governor, Kericho County Government, and others. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor has allowed himself, and the county assembly has led evidence to this effect. The governor has allowed himself to be a master of doublespeak in grave matters, and this has been in violation of Article 73 of the Constitution, which demands that at all times he demonstrates respect to the people and conducts himself in a manner that brings dignity and honor to the office that he holds. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the governor's response to this allegation is that the loss of the funds were occasioned by the people other than him. He then tells you that he has no power to take disciplinary action recommended by the County Assembly's ad hoc committee on the misappropriation of the funds meant for the victims of the Londiani accident. Surely, the governor cannot have the grapes and the wine. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of how on 14th of February 2023, the governor launched an initiative in Kericho called the Kazi Mtaani Initiative. In so doing, he drew public funds without a proper legislative anchor, public participation, prior approval by the County Assembly or the Controller of Budget, or the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honorable Kiprotich Rogony, who testified on behalf of the County Assembly, confirmed in his testimony that some contractors engaged by municipalities were not in the list of pre-qualified suppliers, and that the companies that were paid, yet they were not in the list of pre-qualified suppliers, included Citron General Works, Iglaris Company Limited, Edkiche Investments Limited, amongst others. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, evidence has been led to demonstrate that between January 2025 and July 2025, the governor aided, abated, or condoned the fictitious payments for goods or services which were neither delivered nor done. Resultantly, the county government of Kericho lost approximately Kenya shillings 85,704,522.90 from the payments allegedly made for 1, proposed repairs, redecoration and re-roofing works done to council houses at Kipkelion West Sub-County, next to the Sub-County Administrator's Office. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, you were shown photos of houses at Kipkelion contained at volume 6A of the County Assembly's bundle of documents, for whose repairs, redecoration and re-roofing a sum of Kenya shillings 2,999,000 was paid to Dibral Ventures Limited. The report of the County Assembly Ad Hoc Committee on Fictitious Payments and the testimony of Honorable Albert Kipkoech confirmed as much. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly of Kericho has tabled before this Senate evidence of local supplies orders that were generated on 20th of February, printed on the 25th of February, 2025, and signed on the 21st of February, 2025. It was demonstrated that the LSOs were prepared way after the payments had been made, and you were shown that the interim payment certificate indicated a sum of Kenya shillings 2,699,100, yet the payment vouchers indicated that the full sum of Kenya shillings 2,999,000 was paid. Mr. Speaker, sir, no evidence to the contrary has been led by the governor. Evidence has been led, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, of an event at Chelimo, at a place called Chelimo, which though initially scheduled to be a 5-day event, ended up being a 1-day event. Yet requisitions were made for the 5 days. The County Assembly has demonstrated that contrary to the items listed in the payment voucher, no tea, no snacks, no buffet lunch, or soft drinks were served as alleged in the payment vouchers that were presented. Similarly, there was no public address system with a backup generator or tents that was supplied during the event. Evidence was led of a local supply order in favor of Denby Holdings Limited, which reveals that it was issued on the 20th of February 2025, more than 2 months after the actual event, and more than 3 months after the requisition. That evidence, Mr. Speaker, sir, has not been controverted, and the payments are confirmed by the extracts from the IFMIS, which the County Assembly has supplied to this Honourable House in its bundle of documents. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honourable Senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of a company called Mengro Products Limited that was paid a retention sum of Kenya shillings 395,028 shillings and 63 cents for a project called Whispers Nyakinywa Road in Kedawa Ward. It has been demonstrated that the road was done in 2018-2019 financial year, and as per the documentation provided by the County Assembly, the Inspection and Acceptance Committee was appointed in September 2024, more than 4 years later. Significantly, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the Assembly has produced a staff redeployment memo confirming that the person named as the Secretary to the Inspection and Acceptance Committee, one Lillian Chelagat, was at the time of the report dated 9th September 2024, not working in the said department and only moved to the department on 10th of January 2025, way after the alleged inspection had been signed by her. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, the County Assembly has led evidence of double payments of retention fees for the same contract. Each of the reports of the Inspection and Acceptance Committee have the same months of September 2024, and each of those reports have the same observations relating to the status of the project. That is, and I quote, bush clearing, grading and graveling activities were done to the required specifications and workmanship was substantially satisfactory, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, this observation has been made in several reports, notwithstanding the nature of the project and the defect liability period. And the Assembly has demonstrated that payments for these projects were made on the basis of falsified documents. It has been demonstrated, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, that some of the goods and services and works were procured without following proper procurement processes. There were no tender opening committees, as required by the Public Procurement and Assets Disposal Act at Section 78, as read together with the regulations on public procurement and asset disposal. Similarly, the Assembly has led evidence that there were no professional opinions done to the accounting officers as required by Section 84 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015. Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, evidence has been led to the effect that in the financial year 2024-2025, the Department of Agriculture, Livestock and Cooperative Management budgeted a sum of Kenya shillings 14,980,640 for the purchase of soya, beans, sunflower seed cake, and cotton seed cake to support cooperative societies within the county of Kericho. Anomalies in the procurement process have been demonstrated, and the ad hoc committee on fictitious payments noted that at the time the payments were made, no supplies had been done to the various cooperatives, despite full payments having been made to the suppliers. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, funds allocated for critical services, including healthcare, strategic intervention programs, and infrastructure have been siphoned for personal enrichment and clandestine interest within the county government of Kericho. You have been treated to attempts to deflate the issues on misappropriation of funds, and you have been told that the mover of the motion is hell-bent on getting the governor out of office by whatever means. You have also been told, all in an attempt to deflect from the main issues, that the impeachment proceedings are motivated by other interests. Far from it, Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators. It is not about who the governor perceives to be his competitor. It is about accountability, and it is about protecting the resources of the people of Kericho County. The County Assembly led evidence to demonstrate that the period between the year 2023 and the year 2025, the governor presided over unfair, skewed, and nepotic distribution of projects under a program called the FLOCA funds. The funds have been utilized in an imprudent manner and misappropriated. It has been demonstrated by the County Assembly that the governor's home ward, namely Chemosot ward, got projects worth 21,701,590, while many other wards, not only in other sub-counties, but even within Bureti sub-county, which have not received a single project under the fund. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, the affidavit and the evidence of Mr. Honorable Vincent Korir contained in Volume 3 of the County Assembly's bundle of documents at pages 109 to 113, and the video marked as KCAV5 confirms as much. In other instances, the position taken by the governor in his response contradicts the position that has been taken by his county executive committee members, and one instance stands out. There is a project that has been flagged called Soliat Tree Nursery Establishment Project, in which the Committee on Fictitious Payments noted that the water pumps, the pipes, and the fittings had not been delivered or installed in the project, while the governor maintained that the project had been done as per the bill of quantities contained in Volume 2, page 133 of his bundle of documents. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, at Volume 4A, pages 377 of the County Assembly's bundle of documents, you will note that the scope of work included installation of water pumps, fitting of pipes, and yet that was not done. It is the County Assembly's case that this points to a governor who is either out of touch or complicit in the misappropriation of funds. And Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, what more could constitute bad behavior? Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, on the 3rd of September 2024, the governor engaged in acts of misconduct, gross misconduct, and grossly violated the provisions of Articles 10, 73, 75, 174, and 185 of the Constitution, and abused his office by writing to the Speaker of the County Assembly, purporting to direct the Speaker on inter alia the timelines within which the Speaker should give the chief officers who are summoned by the Assembly for questioning in exercise of the County Assembly's mandate. The County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, has tabled evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and complicity in the acts of subversion, discrediting, and impeding of the overall oversight role of the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, in response to all these grave allegations that have been leveled against the governor of Kericho on misappropriation of funds, he has elected to hinge his defense on technicalities and mere denials. The documentary evidence presented, the audit reports, and the testimonies presented by the witnesses who testified before this Honorable House paint a totally different picture. They paint a consistent picture of systemic misappropriation of funds. The gravity and volume of irregularities cannot be explained away by mere administrative lapses. And Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, the people of Kericho have entrusted you to be vigilant stewards of their resources, and they are looking up to you tonight. None of the witnesses the governor lined up to testify on his behalf testified on the substantive charges that this House is investigating. And we invite you to draw an adverse inference on that account, Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators. Misappropriation of public funds is not just an economic wrong, it is a moral affront, and it inflicts lasting humiliation on the people who are forced to endure the consequences, some of which are dilapidated roads, hospitals, and other attendant failures in governance. It breeds a culture of impunity, Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, where those in high office believe that they can act with wanton abandon and shielded by political connections or procedural technicalities. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, we beseech you not to allow impunity to take root in the county government of Kericho. We urge you to let the vote today be a testament to the enduring values of our Constitution: accountability, transparency, and justice. Justice for the people of Kericho, justice for the residents who have had to endure the consequences of the misappropriated funds, and particularly justice for those who bestowed their trust on the governor and in the hope that he would deliver on the promises that he made. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Honorable Senators, I respectfully urge you on behalf of the County Assembly of Kericho to find that the charges against the governor have been substantiated. I thank you and will yield the floor to my senior, Mr. Ongoya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, distinguished senators. For the record, my name is Ongoya, representing the County Assembly of Kericho. I wish to begin by making an overall observation that after all the charges that were leveled and all the evidence particularized of impropriety against the governor chose not to take the witness stand and answer to any of those charges. The question is this: when a charge is leveled and the evidence, the quantity and weight of which has been played before you by way of witness testimonies, documentary evidence, and video evidence, and the person called to account refuses to take the opportunity given to him to account, what inference will you draw from that? When you begin deliberating, I invite you to consider that aspect of this case. Having said that, there are certain matters that arose in the course of clarification by senators that I wish to address myself to as part of these closing submissions. We stand here as lawyers, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, as people who have to offer guidance on the harmony or otherwise between the evidence on record and the law established. The conclusions to be drawn from that evidence on record and the law established are purely yours as judges, and as participants in the justice process, we have no choice but to accept your verdict unless one pursues any other option known to law. So two questions arose, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished Senator Onyonka presented to the expert witness a question in the form of that both the passwords and the usernames to this system were made accessible to all MCAs. Mr. Speaker, sir, let the Hansard record me as saying that there is no such claim made by any witness before this assembly. The evidence before this Senate has been and remains this. 2 links were sent to MCAs. Link number 1 communicated IPPD numbers which were to be used as the user names. A username, to my lay understanding, is like my email address, which I put on my letterheads and put on my contact numbers, which is itself not a risk. The second link was the voting link. It went with the instruction that every individual MCA will use their own ID, national identification card numbers to vote, so that the aspect of the passwords were never communicated to everybody at all. I have been a participant in the processes of this House, both as an academic and as an advocate, as I'm doing, and I know that there is a rule in this House of accuracy of facts. Whenever one makes a decision, the accurate fact is that no witness, both from the governor's side or the assembly side or the expert, stated anything to the effect that people's ID numbers were communicated to everybody. It is important that that fact is captured by the record and the decision makers so that a decision is made on the correct set of facts. Secondly, a question arose from the clarifications as to whether there was a possibility of geolocation of these IP addresses. I can do no better, because I am no IT expert and cannot pretend to be one, than to look at this Senate's own appointed expert. At page 13 of that expert's report is IP address lookup. Page 13 of that is IP address lookup. Then it says geolocation data from, then there are some details there, but I'm interested in the country, Kenya, region, Kericho. I do not know what conclusion you can draw from that, because I am no ICT expert, but the only evidence available to us shows some geolocation of this IP address to Kericho. I thought that is an important question for you to take into account. Allow me to then address the question that has now emerged as the question of the voting process. And let me observe this. Number one, whereas this House is not strictly bound by rules of evidence, this House, in fact, applies rules of evidence, by which I mean it does not completely disregard rules of evidence. That is why witnesses swear their affidavits as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses take the witness stand and are sworn as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are examined in chief as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are cross-examined as required by rules of evidence. Witnesses are re-examined as required by rules of evidence. So the point I'm making is that whereas you are not strictly bound by rules of evidence, your rules don't disregard rules of evidence. There is a presumption in evidence law called presumption of regularity, that when you are presented with official documents, Kenya Gazettes, official government reports, you presume them to be regular until credible evidence to the contrary is proved, is presented. The County Assembly has presented you evidence of 33 MCAs voting for the impeachment of this governor. The county assembly has given you an expert witness who has said, as far as is concerned, these 33 MCS voted for the impeachment of this governor. The governor has presented an expert here. That expert has not controverted that factual content of the official document, the Hansard, that in fact 33 MCS voted for this governor. This Senate, faced with those two witnesses, has called its own ICT expert. That ICT expert has returned a verdict that from the information available to him, in fact, 33 MCS voted for the impeachment of this governor. It forces, therefore, it demands, therefore, us to conclude that no evidence has been presented that challenges the Hansard of the county assembly and the resolution of the county assembly that 33 MCS voted for the governor. Let us look at the attempts to challenge that position. First, the records will show you that the governor's claims before you were premeditated claims. He entertained these claims in advance of the voting process. His advocate is captured in the Hansard of the county assembly saying, we know that people have voted for or will vote for 4 members of the county assembly. This was said in advance of the voting. Let us look at this carefully. An MCA comes and tells you that 18 MCAs left their phones in the car. The MCA who came here, Honorable Anita Mibei, confirms she had her phone inside the chamber. It means the allegation that these MCAs left their phones inside the car is not worth of any credit. That's what it logically means. She introduces a new nuance of her phone going off, which was not contained anywhere in the affidavits she presented before this House. All MCAs who came here confirmed that they were all in the House. All the 47 MCAs were present in the House. All the MCAs were given an opportunity to vote. The Speaker announced that all of you have an opportunity to vote, and here is the voting method. And if any one of you has difficulties, go to the gadgets presented to you by this assembly and be assisted to cast your vote. No MCA says, I attempted to cast my vote as guided and anyone frustrated me. No MCA says so. The governor makes a claim that 4 MCAs did not in fact vote. The system returns them to have voted. One of those 4 MCAs comes before you with another affidavit. She's called Edna, and says, in fact, the contents of the other affidavit is wrong. In fact, I voted, and in fact, I never signed the other affidavits. What is the net effect of this development? The net effect of this development can only be one distinguished senators, and that is the claim that these 4 MCAs did not vote is not believable. That's the only conclusion you can draw. So, let us face this. The governors, I'll come to that in a short while and I'll begin analyzing those witnesses one by one. But let me address you on the lack of logic in the totality of the governor's case theory. There were 47 MCAs entitled to vote in Kericho County Assembly on the 15th of August, 2025. If you believe, as the governor believed, and as his council believed, that someone voted for you with your credentials, the logical thing is to attempt to log in with those credentials and say, I was unable to log in because somebody had already used them as passwords to log in. That's the logical thing. The other logical thing, if you believe that the system was capable of double voting, is to log in and vote yourself. Because once you log in and vote yourself, and somebody else has double voted, the system will return more votes than the registered voters. That's the logical thing. So I do not know, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, whether we have a case of imprudence or dishonesty on the part of these witnesses. But I want you, when you consider this matter in your own debate, to tell me how somebody will fail to take advantage of these two possible and irrefutable evidence creating acts and come and present another one to tell you, I did not vote. And let's face it. These are the very MCAs you saw by your own clip. The governor's council at the assembly telling them, stand up and demonstrate you will vote support the governor. One of them says they had met the governor earlier and they had agreed on that position. First, that is legislative impropriety. Will you believe a representative of the people who confesses to have engaged in that conduct? I am inviting you to find the overall conduct of these people to be not worth of your credit. But let me point out something else. Mr. Peter Wanyama, advocate for the governor, says, in fact, he logged into this system twice and voted. The county assembly's expert has not seen that login of his. The governor's own expert today has confirmed he didn't see that login by Peter. The independent expert by this house has confirmed he didn't see that login by Peter Wanyama. It means the governor's case theory is found on a shameless lie that an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and our profession, Mr. Speaker, sir, thankfully for me, you belong to this profession, and distinguished senators, some of you belong to this profession, abhors an advocate vouching for his client. An advocate presents evidence as presented by witnesses and the law established. But if the advocate himself can take the extreme stance taken by Mr. Peter Wanyama Learned Counsel to present a factual wrong that he logged in this system and voted, a fact which his own witness says, I didn't see it in the logs. A fact which the independent witness of this house, the expert, says, I didn't see that in the logs. A fact which Mr. Peter Wanyama himself was unwilling or unable to take the witness stand and be cross-examined on. I invite you to draw a conclusion that there is enough evidence that the governor was willing to go to any extent to deceive this house, that this voting process was in fact compromised. Let's face it, distinguished senators. Every system, ICT or otherwise, can be made better. Any system can be made better. Banks work on ICT system, and many other systems now, operations work on ICT systems, whether they medical systems, whether they aviation industry systems, and all other systems. Each one of them can be made better. The fact that the system adopted by the County Assembly of Kericho can be made better is not a basis for invalidating that which it has done. The only basis for invalidating that which it has done is credible and irrefutable evidence that the system was in fact compromised, not capable of being compromised. No single witness before you has brought that evidence that this system was in fact compromised. Learned Senior Counsel, Mr. Katwa Kigen, I would reiterate, Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the most courteous counsel that I know, one of the most polite counsel I know, and a mentor to many young lawyers that I teach, came here and this, in his opening remarks, which are captured at page 25 of Wednesday this week morning, observes that this site was pulled down, and in a response to the PO, it was brought up again. The logs by these witnesses would have shown that act of pulling down the site and re-uploading the site. Not the county assembly's witness, not the governor's witness, not the independent witness of this Senate has captured that log of interference with this site by pulling it down and re-uploading it. I am reiterating a simple and straightforward case that this evidence shows that this governor could go to any extent, including getting senior and reputable counsel to present factual inaccuracies before this Senate just to achieve the termination of these proceedings on a technical objection. As you vote on this issue, I beseech you to debate these questions, and if you reach answers contrary to these submissions, I will leave with your verdict peacefully. If you reach a verdict that conforms to this verdict, once again, I will be able to live with it peacefully. Look at how the county governor's council stood before the county assembly and the governor himself and commandeered, assumed the speaker's role, commandeered the MCAs stand up. What had they done to those MCAs to assume that kind of control over them? I am not sure that if I stood before here and commanded these senators to stand up in direction, they will take it seriously, however persuasive my case. What had they done to them? Between this system that provided some form of privacy for the individual MCA and the so-called roll call system, in that context of this governor and this advocate commandeering MCAs on record, which one would have guaranteed better integrity and independence of decision-making by this assembly? It is expected that any MCA who took advantage of that semblance of independence and voted for this motion, having been earlier intimidated and commandeered, may consider stating that they had not voted. In the next few minutes, let me reflect on the question raised by the majority leader on the 3 MCAs. For starters, distinguished senators, there were 4 who took that position as represented by the governor. Along the way, my learned colleague, Mr. Katwa Kigen, confirmed one of them abandoned that position. This position that we did not vote, which witnesses are liberally taking and abandoning, can we take it as a definitively confirmed position that witnesses didn't vote? Because they are taking and abandoning. That's number 1. Number 2, let's look at the residual 3 that are of concern to the question raised by the majority leader on behalf of the House. One of them is Martin Kiplangat Cheruiyot. First, you'll notice that Martin Kiplangat Cheruiyot swore the same affidavit with Edna Tonui. Same affidavit. They jointly signed it as we. Edna Tonui has now told us, I never signed that affidavit by her own affidavit. On what basis would we believe that affidavit where one of the owners has disowned? It is said, Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished senators, that if the alligator came from the sea, systems do this, an expert told to audit this system can recommend some things that can make this not to happen. It does not mean that what we are doing here is invalid. What we are doing here remains valid regardless of this kind of systemic challenges. So I'd said, it is said that if an alligator came from the sea and told you, Mr. Crocodile is sick, you don't say, I am going to the sea to verify for myself. In regard of the affidavit jointly sworn by Edna and Martin Kiplangat Cheruyot, the alligator that has come from the sea, symbolically speaking, and with due respect, is Edna. She has told us that affidavit is fake. That signature is not mine. How much more evidence do we need to discredit that affidavit? Then comes the other joint affidavit of the 18 MCS, on which, again, Edna's name is indicated. She has come from the sea and told us that affidavit is fake. I didn't sign it. Why would we believe anything from that affidavit? So that would be the approach, Majority Leader, distinguished senators, if I were confronted with that evidentiary question. But that is not enough. That is not enough. Consider the evidence of Amos Birir Trump, who is asked a simple question, Mr. Speaker. This affidavit you claim to have signed jointly, the 18 of you, what time did you sign it? Daytime or nighttime? He says he signed it after lunch. It turns out the assembly proceedings went on until past 8 p.m., and that affidavit contains proceedings of the assembly, meaning it could only have been signed in the night. Normal advocates would have closed their offices at that time. They would tell their clients to come back tomorrow. Can we believe that witness who says those things? I say this because what is before you is whether you have credible evidence to disturb the presumption of regularity of the county assembly's Hansard and resolution as communicated to you. Let's then look at this Amos Birir, the Trump. He came here as an old man, stated his age, and initially looked very credible, even to me, initially. When confronted by learned colleague, Mr. Mutuma, in cross-examination, I do not know what your assessment of him was. Let me just say, in my assessment, he struck me as an old man, yes, but not very honest. Simple facts as to whether he has an internet-enabled phone, whereas his affidavit gave us an impression that he had no internet-enabled phone, he was on WhatsApp. In fact, that number, which he said was in the phone he was carrying in this house, was itself on WhatsApp. I do not know how much more credibility you can give such a witness. He needs redemption in the area of credibility, if you sought my opinion. The verdict belongs to you as whether you will believe him. A witness called Hilary Kibet Bosuben confirmed that he had a laptop supplied to him by the county assembly. He confirmed to him that he used this integrated system. Remember, voting is just one of the components of this system, but this system discharges multiple other functions. He used this same system to make his requisitions for payment of allowances for committee sittings, to register his attendance at committee sittings. It's these same people who use this system to register their attendance in committee sittings who are saying they have never been trained on this system. Fortunately for us, none of them claim to be missing out on their sitting allowances because of this system. It's enabling them in their bread and butter matters. It is only when voting is concerned that they draw the line. I then pose the question. Are these the people, distinguished senators, whom you will say that you believe them that they didn't vote? Because to disturb the verdict of this assembly, you must reach a conclusion that, in fact, these people did not vote for the motion. At that juncture, credibility becomes the most important question. As you consider this motion, distinguished senators, remember Geoffrey Bett. Geoffrey Bett appeared before you as a person living with a disability, a mobility-related disability. He poured his heart out to you. He told you, I have come before you as part of my healing process. He told you, this governor confronted me in a joint sitting of the CECs and COs. He told you in that joint sitting of CECs and COs, when I was proposing to him that rather than procuring a financial management system at 68 million shillings, we can internally develop it at about 1 million shillings and prudently use taxpayers' money. He told me, I thought you only had a physical disability of your limbs. Kumbe, you also have a mental disability. Those were the words of Geoffrey Bett here. Geoffrey Bett has told you, I have come to this Senate as part of my healing process. I want you to consider Geoffrey Bett as you vote. Will your vote to rescue this governor aid Geoffrey Bett in healing? Or will your vote to save this governor add insult to injury to Geoffrey Bett? That issue is on trial before the Senate. Given a chance to take the witness stand, defend himself, and possibly address Geoffrey Bett wherever he is and say, Geoffrey Bett, before this same forum you sit, I am sorry for what I did to you. The governor has chosen not to take that stand. Allegations of financial impropriety, particulars of which were laid before you by various witnesses and documents, and which have been summarized by the learned counsel who came before me, are clear that Kericho County is hemorrhaging in loss of public funds. The governor had two opportunities. One, to get his concerned officers, CECs, COs, procurement officers, to swear affidavits and shed light on these matters. I invite you to reach a conclusion that the failure of the governor to call those witnesses to come before you and give account constitutes his shielding of those witnesses. A governor who shields witnesses who spend taxpayers' money, as we showed you on the Kipkelion housing saga, who shields his officers who spend money, as we showed you, in respect of the Londiani unfortunate accident victims, cannot claim it is not my act. He must take the ultimate responsibility, at least, for shielding those officers. Secondly, given a chance to come and take the witness stand and explain himself, because the evidence we have shows irrefutable evidence of hemorrhaging of public funds, he has declined to take the witness stand. I invite you to conclude that the act of the governor to refuse to take the witness stand, when the time there showed that the governor still had slightly over 30 minutes of his defense, is an act of arrogance on his part, not warranting any mercy from you. If you take all these factors into consideration, my invitation would be, you can only do one thing, the right thing: impeachment of this governor. The County Assembly of Kericho has done its part. The Hansard of this house, as a historical record, will document that. Fortunately for me, the check is still open for you to sign. the history book is still open for you to record your position in that history. The Hansard is still recording you. It will record your vote. Distinguished senators, how will history document you individually and collectively regarding the side of history you belong to? The side that dignifies Geoffrey Bett or the side that undignifies him? The side that protects taxpayers' money or the side that does not? I am done with my part. The ball is in your court. I rest my case.
Counsel for the Governor, the floor is yours. And your 60 minutes start running from now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable senators, my colleague, for the record, my name is Wajiko Thiongo. I will commence the closing argument, then my two colleagues will come thereafter. Honorable senators, our point of departure is the sequence of events as prescribed under Section 33 of the County Governments Act. And definitely, as we sit here, it's not in dispute that the County Assembly has the jurisdiction, the first jurisdiction or the first instance in moving a motion for the impeachment of the governor. However, Mr. Speaker, in doing so, they must do so within the confines of the law and the edicts of the Constitution. They must adhere, in the very least, to Article 10, the principles and values of governance, and must do so within the provisions of Article 181. Therefore, before this House can admit this motion, it must then be satisfied, as we raised in our preliminary objection, that the threshold of the 2/3 majority of the Assembly was met. But in determining this question, serious issues have been raised on what transpired in the Assembly on that day, Mr. Speaker. Several clips, videos have been played in this House on what transpired. And what can be seen is that from those videos and the picture which has been painted is that for the first time, the Kericho County Assembly introduced electronic voting system. The MCAs had never been trained about this system. It has not been controverted by our colleagues from the side of the Assembly. It's also in addition that it is on the floor of that motion that the Speaker of the Assembly informed the MCAs that now the electronic voting system had been deployed. From the ICT officer of the Assembly, Mr. Alfred Kimtai, Mr. Speaker, when that question was put to him, he admitted that the system was deployed 2 days before. The MCAs had not been given an opportunity to interact with the system, create their own passwords, so that the vote which they are going to cast is going to be linked to a particular MCA. This goes to the verifiability of that particular vote. It is not about the numbers at this point. It's about the process within which that election was undertaken. Because an election is not just an event, it's a process, Mr. Speaker. It can also be seen from those clips which have been played in this House that there was a division in the Assembly. And when there is a division, the standing order requires that a roll call vote is taken on that issue. The issue was raised by one Gabriela, who has been called as a witness before this House, and was supported by 17 others, making a total of 18. And it is at that point, the standing order number 79, honorable senators, that required the Speaker to direct a roll call vote to be undertaken on that issue, Mr. Speaker. However, the Speaker of the Assembly instead went on to declare that the voting was going to proceed electronically. It is not clear why at this point, for a matter of this magnitude, because as we sit here, the decision that is going to be undertaken, that was undertaken by the Assembly, is going to take away the political right of the governor, because he was declared as the duly elected governor. But on the same breath, is going to take away the decision and the will of the people of Kericho County. So that a matter of this magnitude, it has not been explained by the Assembly why was the rush to use the system which was being piloted for the first time, to vote on this motion, Mr. Speaker. And looking at that system and the various questions which have been raised by the honorable senators, it's clear that the system had serious doubts. There were serious issues of manipulation, and the 3 ICT experts, as they came here, they could not clarify or clear the doubts which were raised by the senators. There was issues which were raised about the geographical location of the particular votes. And as we stand here, every vote could not have been linked to the geographical location. And the answer is one. The configuration or the manner in which the system has been set does not secure the votes. Mr. Speaker, it is also admitted, it's not disputed, that on the material day, I have heard the counsel for the governor indicate that the username is like the email address, and the password was unique, but in this case it was an ID number. How many times do we sign with our ID numbers when called upon? It is clear from the list of even the laptops that was applied to them that they had to write their own ID numbers. As they sign various registers, Mr. Speaker, they had to indicate the ID numbers. So what is unique about the ID numbers when we talk about a password? And it is clear from the 3 ICT experts that the two-factor authentication or the multi-factor authentication was not created for this system, so that every particular vote can be linked to the MCA. Also at the same time, from the Hansard at page 195 of the governor's bardo, the Speaker himself of the Assembly publicly announced that the ID number is the password. So it was no longer a secret of what the password was, Mr. Speaker. And at the same time, issues arose about whether the MCAs had brought the tools of trade, particularly the gadgets which were required to conduct business. But as it has been shown, is for the first time they were going to use electronic voting. No prior notice had been given to the MCAs, and that was declared on the floor. So that when the MCAs have given evidence that they did not have their phones, they cannot then be faulted, because in the normal conducting of their business back in the Assembly, it is for the first time that they were required to use their phones. Mr. Speaker, it has also been shown also about the user name, which is not disputed, that the first link had all the usernames. And every MCA had access to the link and could then access the username or the IPPD address for the MCAs. And with that, Mr. Speaker, the case for the Assembly is that 3 voted. But the question the House should ask is the verifiability of these 33 votes. Can you link the vote of each and every which was casted or which is said to have been casted to the particular MCA? It has also been admitted that the MAC address for the devices used in casting these votes could not be submitted to this House by either of the ICT officers. And with that, even as we narrow down, on the governor's side is that 18 MCAs did not vote. And narrowing it down is that there are 4 disputed votes in this case. That's the vote of Martin Kiprangat, who testified yesterday. We have the vote of Kibet Mosuben. We have the vote of Amos Biril and Edna Chepkirui. And just to attempt to address the issue of Edna, she has 2 conflicting affidavits. And as the Assembly is faulting the governor's side for not calling this witness, they have equally not called her to come and produce this affidavit. And as such, we are left at a point whether indeed she did sign that affidavit with the Assembly. But also we have the clip of Kibet Mosuben, which was played where he received a call from Mr. Logon, who was the motion mover. And the best defense the motion mover would give was that that's not my voice and I do not drink. But he has not given controverting or evidence to controvert that evidence. He has not given his call logs to say, on this particular date, I did not call Honorable Kibet. He has not controverted that clip apart from just denying, which is so easy to say, that's not my voice as it is, even when clip has been played. And so that, Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, from the system, without these doubts being created, the ICT officer from the Assembly could not supply the system security certificate for this system, could not supply the penetration certificate for this system, He also admitted there was no personalized password which was created for every MCA. And what was available as the password was the ID which was available to other third parties. So that the question then the Honorable Senator should ask, how secure was the system? And how verifiable is the vote which was cast? Honorable Senators, as you look at the affidavit of Mr. Alfred Kimutai, the ICT officer, at paragraph 23, 30, 31, and 32, it is his admission that the system designed is very simple, accurate, verifiable, secure, and user-friendly. However, with the doubts which have been created about the system, has it met those standards? But also in the same breath, even after this House, let me use it on a right note, ordered for the server to be opened, and the ICT experts had to testify, it has created more doubts than answers to these honorable senators about the verification of the votes and the security of that system. And it's not even in any way comforting. But if that doubt then is there, and the verifiability of the votes cannot be proven, the integrity of the system cannot be proven, it cannot then be said the two-thirds threshold was met. And it is thus our submission, Mr. Speaker, that the jurisdiction of this House has then been prematurely been invoked in this case. And the charges and the motion by the Assembly should not be admitted. Thank you. We can have my senior pick it up from there.
Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable senators, allow me to pick up from where my colleague has left and complete our submissions. On the questions of the ICT issues raised in these proceedings, and simultaneously, when addressing that question, I'll be principally making submissions on our preliminary objection. The question of threshold, and the most important thing is whether we have information before this House on whether 33 MCAs actually voted of necessity, provide a basis for this House to make a decision. Allow me to first of all say that as lawyers, we are not experts in IT. Throughout these proceedings, myself, it's been a learning experience, and up to now, I can say without contradicting myself that I know where the problem is, and I know then in terms of the decision on what went wrong, the vulnerabilities of the system, the missing gaps, the information which is required for purposes of making submissions before this Senate. And it is important to just highlight as a way of reaction to what the learned Ongoya said with respect to lawyers providing evidence. That is not true. This is a house of record. It's a house of evidence. What happened, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, what happened is that the County Assembly created what we call a demo website. A demo website 2 days ago. And that demo website, for us who are participating in this impeachment process, based on the information which was available by the County Assembly in Volume 4A, and that is where I'm going to focus my submissions on. Based on the information available, publicly available, and that's one of the issues which we have demonstrated here as a major vulnerability of this process on the aspect of verifiability, accuracy, and authenticity of the system, confidentiality and data protection, which has a heavy constitutional implication. So one of the, if you look at page 1 of Volume 1, Volume 4A, if you look at page 1 of Volume 4A, there is information which I accessed and which was accessible to anyone at the county assembly and all the MCAs at that time. The information is the IPPD numbers of the MCAs. That was the username which was supposed to be used to access this site, and that has been confirmed by the testimony of all the expert witnesses here. And the three of them, from the county assembly, county executive, and office of the governor, and the expert witness from the Senate. Then this system, how do you access it? You access it using an ID number. Again, from the ICT policy and the best practices in software development, we have been told that it is not a proper security safeguard to access such a system with an ID number. So what happened is that the county assembly 2 days ago created a demo website. So with this information that is easily available, it was then possible for anyone to key in and access that system. So it begs then the question, because the ID numbers are contained in volume 4A, that is page 1. The IPPD numbers are in page 4. And it begs a fundamental question which it keeps on recurring in this House, even from the questions which have been asked by the senators, and the responses which were given by the ICT expert from government, from the ICT authority. This information, we request the Senate to take judicial notice of the information contained in an IPPD number. Who else can access that information within a county government setup? Payroll staff in the county government, county assembly can definitely access the payroll number for the MCS. The persons who created this system, the IT administrator, and the evidence has been laid here, clear, express, and unequivocal, that a link was sent to the administrator of this system. So he also had access to this system. The other persons who had access to this system are any person then who had mischief. Any person who had mischief will then access this system because it's data that is easily available. So that concern, we are saying, is an important aspect which you need to consider when making your decision on the question of threshold, which is a requirement of Section 33, Paragraph 2 of the County Government Act. Because the meat of this matter, the substance of this matter, the question that is before the Senate for determination is whether 33 MCAs actually voted. Secondly, whether the 33 MCAs met the constitutional threshold. Thirdly, whether the 3 MCAs who claim that they were not, they did not vote, but someone voted for them, whether that evidence is credible, and if that is accepted by the Senate, then it affects the threshold. It affects the threshold. It means then there is no proper motion before the House, and on that basis, based on the legal doctrine that the law matters, that county assembly as a house is also governed by the law. We can do what we want, yes, but we must follow the law. We are all servants of the law. It is the law that drives everything that we do, including proceedings that are conducted at the county assembly. So that in this case, the Senate has a duty and an obligation to verify the authenticity of the 3 votes, because they will bring down the threshold, and then it means, and based on the ruling which was issued by the Speaker yesterday, that when voting on that question, if you believe that the 3 MCS, including Honorable Trump, did not vote, and remember, these MCS have come to the House. They have come here and told you by their word of mouth that I, Honorable so-and-so, I did not vote on this motion. And there are 3 of them. And their testimony is consistent with what transpired in the House. the question that you'll be left with is, do you believe these MCAs who said that they did not vote so that you can make a decision on the threshold? Or do you believe a computer-generated information which has so many doubts to the extent that the entire House is asking questions? The question which this House is asking, and which all the senators I've observed are asking, is really fundamental. We cannot put this down there. We are not downplaying the allegations against the governor. We have responded to them. But what we are saying is that, did these 3 MCAs vote? What does the evidence tell us? Let's look at the evidence. Where is the evidence? If you look at, Mr. Speaker, the evidence is contained in volume 4A. Evidence has been led here by experts, all of them, that when you vote using a gadget such as a computer, which is internet enabled, when you vote using a laptop or a tablet or a desktop, there are unique codes that identifies that gadget in the system. This code is known as the MAC address. When you sign into the Wi-Fi, using that gadget, it will leave a digital fingerprint, a digital print, digital evidence on that system for purposes of anyone who then audits that system, checking and ascertaining that MCA A, B, C voted in that system. So that is a fundamental question that we must always ask ourselves when we are determining that preliminary, voting on the preliminary objection. Is there information before this House? Mr. Speaker, sir, when I asked the government ICT expert a question, deliberate question, it is because of that. Because yesterday we were with this ICT officer. We were raising concerns about various things. One, whether the ICT officer from the ICT authorities can be able to comprehensively answer all the questions with the information which they have. We asked the question which was asked by a senator here, whether they can be able to hack into the, do a soft hack. It's called a soft intrusion, whether they can be able to hack into the system to verify the identity of the MAC addresses, to get those logs. We asked that question, and then the ICT officer walked out for 2 hours, and then came back. So we were appreciably apprehensive. What did this ICT officer go out to do for 2 hours, from between 2:30 p.m. and 4:30, after the speaker had issued directions that we need to be there and ensure that this audit is done and it's a time-bound activity? Why would he do that? So we were appreciably apprehensive. When the ICT officer came back, and if you look at the report which he has submitted, he did not want to explain. His approach was that yes or no. The speaker has said, is it verifiable or not? Then he said, I will respond to the question the way I want, yes or no. That's what happened. That's what happened, yes or no. That's why if you look at the report of the ICT officer, and if you look at the report, it does not contain the information which we asked him to put on the report, which this Senate has been raising this afternoon. That evidence of the MAC addresses. We told him, and he has confirmed here, we told him, why can't you simply say in your report that for you to verify that MCA A, B, C, and D voted, you need their MAC addresses of the gadgets which they used, and these MAC addresses are in the system. And then he told us orally that this MAC addresses, yes, you need them, but I will not put them in the report. Mr. Speaker, sir, that is the context in which the governor side said, then we cannot sign this report. Even though they participated in the report generation, they were there when the logs were being extracted, the logs which are in the report. Those logs, same logs are in the county assembly document, and these logs will tell you only one side of the story. They will tell you only one side of the coin. Only one side of the coin. And it does not answer the question which is before the Senate. Which is this side of the coin? That 33 MCAs voted. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me say here as part of our submissions in a very, very clear and succinct manner. Indeed, we have looked at the evidence submitted by the county assembly, the data generated from the system, by the county assembly, and as extracted by this by the expert speaker, the expert witness, and the expert witness also of the governor, and there is information that 33 MCS actually voted for this motion. There is information that 33 MCS voted for this motion. It is there. It's there in page 4A. But the fundamental question, because the governor's team is saying, so and so did not vote for this motion. And there are 3 of them. So the question then that begs the answer, which all the experts have not answered to now, which leaves doubt in the minds of everyone, including myself as a lawyer. Where can you, with certainty, tell us that this MCA, that MCA for this particular ward used this gadget to vote? Because then that will weed out. It will weed out and completely foreclose, Mr. Speaker, sir, the statement, the oral evidence which has been made by these MCAs. Because these 3 MCAs are saying, I did not vote. I, Honorable so-and-so, I did not vote for this motion. I did not vote. Mr. Speaker, sir, that statement is extremely weighty for purposes of the proceedings in this House. Therefore, we ought to have gotten from the system logs of all the MAC addresses of the gadgets which access this system from the county assembly. To leave that doubt, to leave that question clear to the minds of everyone. Mr. Speaker, sir, additionally, yesterday there was evidence which was led that some MCS could not vote using their gadgets, their telephone numbers. Their telephone numbers. Sorry, their mobile phones. So what happened is that the clerk, the speaker asked them to be assisted to vote using a machine, laptop or desktop, but it was a computer. That evidence will be there to be analyzed. The MAC addresses for that system. The ICT officer from the government said that that evidence ought to be in the system. We consistently asked him this question deliberately because we want that question to be fully answered. Where are these MAC addresses? So, Honorable Senators, as you retire to consider this, the question of threshold, just know that there is now doubt more than ever. Experts have come to the Senate and there is doubt from all of them on the existence of these MAC addresses. Instead, Mr. Speaker, sir, and Mr. Speaker, sir, this is really interesting. Instead, they say, especially the expert from government says, that what we have as evidence are the IP addresses. The experts who, including himself, say that for it to be complete, you need to have both the MAC addresses and the IP addresses. The IP addresses is, what did he say, Mr. Speaker, sir, when he was testifying here? He said that the IP addresses are the gateways, the gateway IP addresses. They cannot tell, it tells you who accessed a particular Wi-Fi, which was being used by the MCS in that area. It does not tell you the MAC addresses of the specific telephones that were used. So that is very, very significant. So to complete that argument and to leave no doubt whatsoever, if you look at volume 4A, and here, Mr. Speaker, allow me to just address a couple of issues on volume 4A. That is at page, the IP addresses which were produced. And the experts say that this is not conclusive. You will need additional information. At page 29, 31, 32, 33, of volume 4A. The Honorable Senator Asige, I don't know whether she's here, probably listening to where she is, asked an extremely important question, Mr. Speaker, sir, which affects the aspect of verifiability. Verifiability. Even on these IP addresses, we have left the issue of the MAC address, of the MAC addresses. Let's look at these IP addresses. I listened to the Honorable Senator Asige asking that question, and I said, maybe that is the real issue that the Senate also need to inquire about. What was the issue? How many Wi-Fi? They say that if you have a gadget and you access the system, you will use a Wi-Fi. That's what they said, Mr. Speaker, sir. Is that right? Yes. They say that then 9 MCS can have the same IP addresses because they access the same Wi-Fi. Again, that's what they said. I'm not picking this from there. Statements from the word of mouth. So the question is, if you look at these 33 IP addresses at page 29, page 32, page 29, 30, 31, 32. Mr. Speaker, sir, look at these IP addresses. Are these IP addresses the same? Mr. Speaker, sir, there are some which are the same. And this was pointed out. There's an IP address which features really prominently. It appears 9 times. This is 41, 139, 237.129. This IP address appears 9 times. 9 times. The ICT experts who appeared here say that it's also possible to do a geographical search of these IP addresses. But there is no evidence in the Senate that a geographical search of these IP addresses was done on the aspect of verifiability. But this IP address appears 9 times. So what does it mean? That somebody accessed, they accessed a particular Wi-Fi 9 times. But Mr. Speaker, sir, if you look at these logs, you will see that there are many other IP addresses. So the question is, why are these IP addresses different if you are all within the county assembly premises, the house? You are accessing the same Wi-Fi network. And they say that if you access the same Wi-Fi network, then you need to have the same IP address. So the question is, why are these IP addresses different, Mr. Speaker, sir? Is it possible that the Kericho County Assembly has 6 Wi-Fi routers? Because when I counted, I saw. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we submit that we have a very big problem before this House. The problem is that there is no certainty whatsoever based on the testimony of the 3 expert witnesses on who actually voted. Their votes are there, but who actually voted? Instead, Mr. Speaker, sir, the possibility is that somebody may have accessed this publicly available data and voted for anyone else. And that is the information which, that is the evidence that is before the House. And because of time, Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to then conclude by saying that based on the provisions of Article 10.2 of the Constitution, the system which was deployed by the County Assembly on this vote, Mr. Speaker, sir, on an important matter concerning the removal of a governor from office. That system is not transparent, it is not verifiable, and therefore the results from that system are not verifiable. And on that basis, Mr. Speaker, sir, I urge I urge the honorable senators, Mr. Speaker, sir, that you allow our preliminary objection and throw this issue back for where it came from, because it does not meet the constitutional threshold as required by Section 33(2) of the County Government Act. I yield the floor to my colleague.
For the record, my name is Katwa Kigan, counsel for the governor. And The nature of my submissions will be more towards the aspects of fact. And Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, we hold the position that the governor has responded to the factual allegations of the claims made by the county assembly, and that is captured in his affidavit, volume 1, the affidavit in volume 1, page 1 to 31. And the allegations that had been raised by the county assembly are 9, and all of them have been answered. It relates to management of a program called NAV-CDP, FLOCA, Kasim Tani, Strategic Intervention Projects, Londiani accident, dismissals, subversion of county assembly activities, and bullying. All those issues we've answered, and we pray that the senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, they be looked at as answer to the allegations. Now, in more particular, I would like to say this. The allegations are in 2 categories. The first category is old complaints that were brought here before you in September 2024. And the second set are new claims raised by a report made on 5th of August 2025, and attendant to which an impeachment motion was initiated on 6th of August 2025. In respect to the old complaints, which is constituted of these particular 3 items, the first one is the issue of Kasim Tani. The second one is the issue of Londiani accident. The third one is the issue of private land. Our first attack on that, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that the standing orders of Kericho County prohibited and prohibits the need to consider those allegations. The standing order number 70A, subsection 2, is to this effect. Despite paragraph 1, probably I should read from paragraph 1 for context, 70A says this: a motion by any member for the removal of a county governor by impeachment may be reintroduced in the county assembly on the expiry of 90 days from the date of a vote by the Senate. Subsection 2 is to this effect. Despite, and honorable senators, I put a lot of premium and emphasis on the use of the word grounds that were highlighted in the previous impeachment. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our contention, contrary to what Honorable Rogoñ said when he was testifying, that to the extent to which those grounds were captured in the motion, were moved in the county assembly, were debated in the county assembly, were voted for, and were brought here. To the extent that those things happened, they had fitted into that word of highlighting. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, it is our submission that indeed it should not be here. However, I would like also to make supplementary comments about those allegations in our defense. I would like to start with the issue of Kasim Tahani. And my learned friends for the Kericho County Executive proposed that successful bidder contractors were obligated to engage local youths and women so that they would benefit from the contracts that were run in their neighborhoods. And so the payments for the youths and the women was to be paid from the remuneration or the payments due to those contractors. So it's not like it was funds from the county. Absolutely not. It was funds that were payable as part of the contract money. In that situation then, there was no need for any policy, there was no need for any legislation to have been in place. So that's our first answer to that allegation. The second explanation that we have is that indeed in our response both in September 2024 and in this time round, we explained and provided lists of youths and women who are paid on those projects. We are aware that similarly, the county assembly, through the committee that purported to investigate, came with a list of youths and women. And our position is that there is nobody owed, and if there is any amount that is owed, they should go to those contractors. But significantly related to that allegation that there are some people who have been deprived of their due payment, it is our contention that the Senate is not the forum for their claim for labor rights. If they had any complaint about their rights for work done, they should have gone to labor court or should have reported to the police or even gone to civil court. And to that extent, therefore, Honorable Senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, we are contending that the issue of Kasim Tani as a ground for impeachment is a red herring. The issue of Londiani accident, we already explained, and I would like to explain again, that it was the committee and the activities of that committee were in the hands of central government. They were not in the hands of the county government. And the person who was chairing those proceedings was the county commissioner. The signatories to the accounts was the county commissioner and members of those committees. And Mr. Speaker, sir, when I asked the question to the witness who came to bring that issue, he admitted that indeed the governor did not sit in that committee, was not a signatory to that, those accounts, and there is nowhere where he is associated with those funds. It is also significant that the witness says that much as these things happened in 2023, they have not deemed it necessary to complain either to EACC or DCI or to any other entity if they were aggrieved about these funds. And so it is our contention that this issue has been brought solely for purposes of injuring the good name of the governor. Two last issues I wish to mention about this Kasim Tani issue and Londiani is that they relate to the period, the financial year 2022-2023. And Mr. Speaker, sir, as we pointed out when we asked the questions to the witness who came to testify on this issue, it is true that it is not captured in the Auditor General's reports, so that if it were to be the case that indeed any money was lost or there was any impropriety, our expectation is that it would have been captured. The fact that it is not captured is an indication that indeed these allegations are completely baseless. I would like then to come to the allegations that were brought to the County Assembly on 5th of August 2025. And before I discuss the particulars of our defense in respect to that, I would like again to invite the honorable senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, to the point we made in regard to that issue. The first one we made was that the governor was not given an opportunity to react and act on those reports. And the witness admitted that the reports were made on or around 5th of August 2025, and the motion. Actually, let me correct myself. He said the reports were brought into the Assembly on 5th of August. And those reports provided for a period on average of 28 days within which the governor was to act. However, the next day, before the expiry of the 28 days, and in fact before the expiry of even 1 day, on the 6th of August, the impeachment motion was initiated. And it is our contention that that is an indication of bad faith and political motivation in this impeachment initiative. It is our contention also that if the governor were to be looked at as having failed in his oversight role, he needed to have gotten time to act and to have failed to have acted. Now, discussing the various the various items of that those new allegations relating to NAV, CDP, FLOCA, and strategic infrastructural projects, the allegations of dismissals, we would like to explain that particularly FLOCA and NAV CDP are projects that are foreign funded. They are donor funded projects. Each of those projects have clear budget lines, they have clear work plans, they have cascaded means of ensuring that there is accountability, both even on issues of procurement and audits of works done. And to the extent, therefore, that the works are going on and that subsequent works cannot proceed until the previous one has been audited and accounts provided, to the extent, therefore, that those works are still going on, is an indicator that those projects are in good shape. However, the governor takes the position that if it were to be the case that there is any impropriety, he needs time to look at it and to act on them. But otherwise, he insists that there is no impropriety, and that if there were any improprieties, the donors who are supporting these projects would have raised it. The complainants who have come to you would have even written to the EACC, which they have not done. On the other projects, including the strategic intervention projects, the issues of contract, the issues of procurements, the issue of splitting contracts, the issue of public address, the issue of tents, and the other house renovations, Mr. Speaker, sir, the governor maintains that he needed time to look at it and to act. The fact that the report by the committee came on 5th and he was being impeached on 6th is such that it deprived him of an opportunity to counter-check the allegations contained in those reports and to have acted. But collateral to that, the governor in his affidavit has explained that indeed he has already handed over documents related, or rather he has instructed his people to hand over the documents related to those projects to the EACC for further investigations. And may I say also related to the old cases, that is Kasim Tani and Londiani, the governor has also, the issues are under investigation by EACC. And secondly, through the witnesses, we were able to show that most of the people who were involved in those activities, in those projects, have been either subjected to disciplinary proceedings, and some have been required to retire. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our contention that there is no nexus whatsoever between any improprieties related to funds, procurements, and the other allegations raised between the governor and those situations. I would like to address this issue of the private property the same way we did when we raised it at the outset. The property that is being referred to is not private property, it is public property. And governor insists that it is private property and is determined to recover it. There is the contention and purport that there is a court determination saying that that is a private property. As we pointed out, and consequent to our pointing out, the county assembly has shied away from showing you the judgment. The decision that was made by the court was that the ground should not be used as a dumping ground until a NEMA certification is obtained. There is nowhere where it is said that it is private property. And even if the county assembly, in its totality, were to try to team up with this person who is trying to grab public property and use impeachment as a threat to the governor to cede the quest to recover the land, the governor is determined to recover the public land. Now, I would like then to answer a few questions that have been raised, especially in the course of the submissions today. The first one is the issue that my learned friend, Mr. Angoya, has extensively referred to, the issues of the joint affidavits, one by both Martin and Edna, and the other one by the 18 MCS. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I had earlier on taken the position that it is proper to have signed a joint affidavit. However, even if it were to be the case that there is any impropriety or any compromise of the impact of those affidavits by reason of joint signing, it is our position that each of those witnesses came here, took an oath, and testified. That is good enough to supplement any shortcomings in those affidavits, and that their testimony is solid to the extent to which they took oath and testified here. The allegations of negative comments made in reference to Geoffrey Bate are denied, and in the course of the testimony of Mr. Geoffrey Bate, he agreed that he has not taken any action if he was aggrieved. He has not complained to the Public Service Board, who are his employers. He has not reported to any police station. He has not reported to any labor court. He has not reported to any civil court. He has not taken out any constitutional action. And therefore, it is our position that it is not true. And if it were true, he would have taken action. And as honorable senators may have seen, he clearly was strongly willed, and if indeed it was true that these allegations were true, then he would have already made a complaint. The other argument that has been made by my learned colleagues for the county assembly is that by reason of not calling these witnesses, the governor is shielding them. As we have explained, in respect to the old cases, Kasim Tani, Londiani, and the others, the governor has taken action. In respect to these complaints that arose on 5th of August, attendant to which he was process of impeachment started on 6th of August, he needs time to look at them, and he couldn't rush into. It can't be said that he's shielding them because he needs time to have looked at it and determined if there is any issues and deal with them. And then my learned friend, Mr. Ongoya, made a very funny comment saying that there is a certain impropriety in the governor meeting the MCS. It is our position that there is absolutely no impropriety in the possibility of leaders meeting. And there is the contention, therefore, that the governor met some MCS is completely misplaced. Now, I would like to say a few more things before I go to the next step. The first one is to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, on our preliminary objection, that there is unanimity on all the three experts on the two most material issues. The first one is that they are all unanimous that they cannot confirm whether the three MCS voted. They cannot confirm that. Now, when you juxtapose that with the affidavit of the developer of the software, Mr. Alfred Korir, at page 23, at paragraph 23, sorry, where he says it is simple, accurate, verifiable, particularly emphasis on the use of the words verifiable, secure, and accurate. To the extent, therefore, that he intended this system to be verifiable and accurate, to the extent that we cannot determine who the three MCS, whether or not the three MCS voted, to the extent that we cannot do that, it is true then that this paragraph is bailed out. It is not true that that system was verifiable. The second thing that they are all agreed on the other thing that the witness agreed on is that indeed the records of the county assembly contain details of the payroll and ID numbers for the various MCS, and that if somebody was determined to get them, especially within the establishment of the county assembly, they could get them. With us, in that context, therefore, it is our contention that indeed it was possible for somebody else to vote, and that the three experts admit that if you get those credentials, you could vote. So that there are those two admissions, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators. Number one, that with the credentials, anybody could have voted for those MCS. And number two, that they are not able to trace back those three votes to the three MCS. Now, the last thing I wish to say, as I spare a few minutes for my client, is that we would like, honorable senators and Mr. Speaker, sir, that you take on board these as you consider the propriety of that system that was used to vote. Number one, we pointed out in the course of testimony that indeed the answer has been edited. It has been edited so that it is not consistent with the audio recording of the events. Number two, it is true that a few minutes before the movement of the motion on 6th of August, by the mover of motion, who, as we cross-examined him, we maintain is in collusion with the Speaker, 6 MCAs, there was an attempt to remove 6 MCAs with a view to reducing the numbers or otherwise to intimidate them to support the impeachment of the governor. Number 3 is the question that indeed there was an option to do a roll call voting. Nobody, not even my learned colleagues for the county assembly, have explained why they could not just take a straight and simple process that could have resolved the issue. And for all those reasons, and then the rush to set up this thing at night, and to insist on using it even when the nays, I'd say, were louder than the ayes. For all those reasons, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable senators, we pray as a first line of our prayers that you do find that the system was not adequate to satisfy you that any voting took place and that the 2/3 threshold was met. As a second line, we pray that you do find that indeed no evidence and no material and no grounds have been adduced adequate to place a requirement on you to impeach the governor. With that said, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have 4 more minutes. I would like to request my client to just say a few minutes within that time limit.
Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable senators of this great house, the upper house, I stand again before you this evening, even as we make our final submission, that, first of all, I'm grateful for the time the senators have sat for these 3 days and under your leadership, and to also indicate that, as my lead counsel have indicated, we have made our submissions on the circumstances that has been laid on me. Mr. Speaker, the report, as I said in my earlier remarks, came to me at the 5th, and it was sent to my offices. I received it on 6th, addressed to the clerk, addressed to the county secretary, and marked to the Public Service Board, another addressed to me. It's on that same very day that the impeachment motion was tabled. It was then very difficult for me to have sat at that time to analyze the reports and be able to make implementation. I wish to state here, Mr. Speaker, sir, that as we ponder over this matter, during this period of impeachment right from the Assembly to where we are today, the EACC and the DCIE wrote to the county government of Kericho requesting documents for the same issues that has been mentioned. As the governor, I instructed the officers responsible, the county secretary, to submit the documents to the respective investigating agencies for action. I wish to commit before you, Mr. Speaker. I know how weighty the matters are before us. Mr. Speaker, I wish to submit before you and the senators that, given a chance again, I'll be able to implement the reports in totality and also be able to implement what the investigative agencies, such as the DCI and the EACC, will recommend for us to act upon. We further commit, Mr. Speaker, sir, that where there is elements of culpabilities, not only for now, but even in the future, on the state officers, it is my commitment that as we take leadership of Kericho to a step higher and notch, that we will do whatever possible to protect the resources of our people. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honorable senators, as an individual, I know that I do not claim perfection. I have flaws just like any other human being. My 2 years journey in political leadership has been learning of lessons. And when I look around the political environment that we have been, I pray to this Senate that should I get a chance from this great house, I would also set upon myself to be able to reach out to the entire leadership of Kericho County, especially the MCS and their speaker and also the deputy governor, and be able to strike a working relationship with them, of course, together with the senator of Kericho County and the members of parliament from the county government of Kericho, and be able to strike a working relationship with them so that, Mr. Speaker, it allows us, because this is the second last financial year before really the end of this 5-year cycle, to allow us to be able to deliver for the people of Kericho County. We have had our triumphs, we have had also our challenges, just like any other leadership and any flaws. And Mr. Speaker, I rise to, as I conclude, to speak to the great churches here and the senators here that have been listening to this case, that as you have listened and the evidence adduced to you, that the processes has been tabled to you, showing how flawed it was, But however, I offer myself that out of these, we will be able to step up the leadership of Kericho County and people again to work together with a great energy and strike a reconciliatory tone so that we are able to deliver for the mandate of our people. I wish to thank the honorable senators for the opportunity you have given us and the time you have given to listen to us. I know it's been a challenging time. It's also been trying for me, psychologically torturing, and it's been one of my lowest moments to be here in this Senate again for the second time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I pray that the senators will find a place in their hearts to look into the matters that we have raised and give us a chance again to work for the great people of Kericho County. Asanteni sana, and may God bless all of us. Asante sana.
Now, honorable senators, ladies and gentlemen, having concluded the closing statements by the parties, the Senate will proceed into a camera session for 15 minutes, pursuant to Rule 27 of the Rules of Procedure. That is for the hearing and determination on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Dr. Eric Kimutai, the Governor of Kericho County. The objective of the in-camera session is to ensure that the process is concluded seamlessly, timesuously, and in line with the requirements set out under the Constitution and the County Government Act and the Senate Standing Orders. Now, honorable senators, during this session, the parties, all members of public and the media will be expected to withdraw from the chamber and the galleries, and any form of broadcasting from the chamber shall cease forthwith. Consequently, I now direct the parties, all members of the public and media, to withdraw from the chamber and the galleries, and that any form of broadcast from the chamber to cease forthwith. It is now 9:35. We will resume open session at exactly 9:50. Thank you.